Today's lesson is about pens, and pens were really profound for me when I realized I could put all these details in this little frog's neck and really get things looking realistic. So today I'm going to demonstrate both dark and white pens and run some tests on them to help you see what they're all about. So I have a little scrap picture of a tree, and a lot of times I use pens to add branches. So I'm going to start out with some pens that have brush tips. So this is a Pigma brush tip, and you can see that it has a nice brush shape, which means it's going to be very flexible and you'll be able to shape it. So let's just take a little area over here, and as you press down it's very soft and you can make thin and thick lines. Now I know our tree wouldn't look like that, but I wanted to show you what you can do with that flexible brush tip. The next one is Faber-Castell. This is a Pitt Artist pen. It also has a brush nib on it. It's not as flexible and the colors are not going to be the same, but as you press down you do get some flexibility with it. And it layers very nicely on the inks. So those are pens that have brush tips on them. So now I want to go to Pigma Micron. This is metal with a piece of plastic on it. So this is not going to be flexible. This is going to draw just a nice consistent line. This is very similar. This is a dark gray Le Pen, and you can see both of them are in a metal case with a plastic tip and they're not flexible. So the dark gray, you're not going to be able to see it as much, so let's see if I can put it over in a place that's a little bit lighter. This point is also very fine. This is a Stabilo fine point, same thing, metal with a fixed plastic, and here's what the Stabilo looks like. Now we're going to move into water-based paint markers, and the thing that you need to know with those guys is there's a ball inside and you need to shake it up, and before you put it on your picture you want to press it, because this is what it looks like. It can really put out a whole bunch of ink when it first starts. Once you've got it started on your paper towel, then you're fine to bring it over. This is a Posca, which is a water-based pen, and this is a fine tip. Very nice, very opaque. And then we're going to look at some whites, because people are always looking for good whites because we don't really have good white. This is a Sharpie water base, same thing, it's got a ball in it. When you press it, you want to put it on a paper towel first, and then go ahead and you can bring that and put that on there. This is a nice opaque, but we're going to come back in a minute and see what do our whites look like after they've had some time to dry. I'll do the Posca white. So I like that one a lot. I'll just put some of that in here. This is P for Posca. And this will be S for Sharpie. And then the next kind of pens that we want to look at are gel pens. Gel pens are pigment in a gel medium. And they are a metal with a metal tip on it. This is a Marvy Reminisce white gel pen. The most popular is the Uniball Signo UM153. Again, that is metal with a metal ball. So this is the Signo. And sometimes what happens is you get a split. That'll happen with the Reminisce too. Let's go ahead and put REM. And then a little different formulation is the Uniball Angelica. Still metal, but it's smaller. Put a little bit of snow here with our Angelica. And it's just finer. Now the other thing we want to look at is, are these guys going to smear? So, okay. That was the Faber-Castell. That's the India ink pen. And then let's look at the Pigma Micron. That's this one here. It smears also. So what does that tell you? Don't rub on your paintings. The Posca doesn't smear. The Pigma Micron, it doesn't smear, and the Gray Le Pen doesn't smear. So the ones that are smearing are those pretty brushes. I think if we leave them long enough, they'll probably be fine. Nonetheless, don't be dragging your fingers across it. For the whites, the Reminisce is turning pink. The Signo is wiping off, and the Angelica is wiping off, but the Posca is not. So the Sharpie and the Posca, those water-based guys, less danger of smearing. You will see in charts, things are labeled as Copic proof or not. And what they're talking about is, can you put alcohol ink on top of the pen? So we're gonna do it both ways. We're gonna do the pen first, and then alcohol ink on top, alcohol ink, and then the pen. Pigma brush. This is really, really soft, really smooshes down. The Faber-Castell. It's not as flexible, but it's still a brush tip. Then the Pigma Micron with the plastic tip. The Gray Le Pen, same thing. And the Stabilo and the Posca. So we want to wait a little bit of time to let those guys dry. In the meantime, let's pour some Sunshine Yellow over on this side. Okay, now we're going to come over here. We're going to put some alcohol ink on top. Let's see what happens to these guys. Whoops, I dragged the nozzle through the labeling of the Posca. Sorry. Okay, so first thing that we notice is the Stabilo is like gone. It doesn't seem to be Copic proof or alcohol ink proof. The rest of them do. Now let's go ahead and get this side dry, and we'll go ahead and put those guys on top. So here's the Pigma brush. It soaks in a little bit to the ink, but it's working fine. The Faber-Castell. Micron. Okay, now I noticed that on top it does kind of sink in a little bit. It looks different on top than underneath. The Gray Le Pen, same thing as the Micron. Better under than on top. Next is the Stabilo. Now that guy's real happy on top, and it wasn't that happy underneath. And the Posca, about the same. And then I have a very dark one just to go through the whites with you again. We'll start out with the Sharpie water-based white. Then the Posca. Then to the 3 gel pens. This is the Reminisce. What I find with the gel pens is sometimes they get the ink stuck in them. In the ball itself, so you can wipe it off. Then the Signo. And then the Angelica. So beware that the whites can sink into the ink below, and test everything out first before you use it. But for now, that'll give you a real good start on using pens with your alcohol inks.